The armor that's suffocating you. Why conquering what's within is the most radical thing you'll ever do. Let me tell you something nobody warned you about when you're busy surviving. There's an expiration date on armor. One day you wake up and the strength that everyone applauded, the resilience they marveled at, the way you carried impossible loads without flinching, turns out to be the very thing crushing you from the inside. I sat down recently with Debra Campbell, and that conversation didn't just move me, it rearranged something fundamental in my chest. Deborah has devoted her life to walking alongside high achieving Black women, entrepreneurs, and professionals as they navigate the wreckage left by abuse, whether physical, mental, emotional, or financial. And through our exchange, one truth landed with undeniable force. Despite enduring unimaginable adversity, the real battle, the one that actually determines everything, is the one we wage within ourselves. Deborah shared something I think we're all starving to hear. She said conquering what's within isn't about pretending the abuse never happened. It's not about slapping on a smile and calling it healing or drowning in toxic positivity. It's about making a choice, a radical, unapologetic, aggressive choice to reclaim your power from the inside out. And her work, helping women do exactly that, is making the world a softer, braver, more honest place, one boundary at a time. Now, I know what's running through your mind right now. I'm tired. I've been strong for so long. There's nothing left. I hear you. I really do. But what if the softness you're craving, the rest you're desperate for, the peace you've been chasing in every self care Sunday and every overpriced candle starts with conquering what's within? What if this era we're stepping into, this reclamation of softness, isn't about doing less? It's about being more honest, more vulnerable, more willing to face the parts of yourself you've been outrunning for years? Let me share some stories with you. Stories that illustrate what it really means to conquer from within. Stories that prove your circumstances don't get to write the final chapter. First, there's Deborah Farrington. Deborah is a venture capitalist, co founder of Starvest Partners, one of the largest women majority owned venture capital firms in the country. But before the accolades, before landing on the Forbes Midas list, before the Foreign Policy Association Medal and the Harvard Business School Alumni Achievement Award, Deborah was fired. Early in her career, she was let go. And not just let go in some graceful, mutual parting of ways kind of situation. She was dismissed in an industry that already didn't want her there, an industry dominated by men who saw her gender as a liability, not an asset, who viewed her presence as an inconvenience, not an innovation. But here's where it gets interesting. Deborah didn't shrink. She didn't internalize that rejection as some cosmic confirmation that she didn't belong. Instead, she leaned into her self confidence, even when the world around her was screaming that she should doubt herself. She built strategic relationships. She became one of the first women to speak up in every room, refusing to be sidelined, refusing to let silence become her survival strategy. She pivoted to smaller firms where her voice could actually resonate, where her leadership could flourish instead of being stifled. And eventually, she co founded a firm that didn't just change her trajectory, it changed the game for every woman who came after her. Deborah's story is a masterclass in resilience, sure, but more than that, it's a testament to the power of conquering what's within. Because the real battle wasn't against the men who doubted her or the industry that tried to silence her. The real battle was against the voice inside her head whispering, maybe they're right. Maybe you don't belong here. Maybe you should just go quietly. And she won that battle by choosing to believe in herself. Even when no one else did, she refused to let external rejection become internal truth. Now let's talk about Deborah Hart. Deborah is an artist and entrepreneur based in Atlanta. And like so many of us, she faced upheaval, repeated relocations, downsizing her studio, shrinking her workspace, all things that threatened the very core of her creative identity. She was anxious, uncertain, terrified that she was losing the thing that made her who she was, the thing that gave her breath, meaning. But Deborah did something radical. She reframed her downsizing as an opportunity. She used self talk and faith to embrace her new reality, not with resignation, but with curiosity. She focused on what truly mattered in her art, not the size of her studio or the resources at her disposal, but the depth of her reflection, the authenticity of her expression, the honesty in every brushstroke. And you know what happened? Downsizing led to a creative renaissance. Her productivity increased, her work deepened. She became an advocate for creative resilience, inspiring other artists facing similar transitions, showing them that limitation doesn't have to be the enemy. Deborah's story reminds us that limitation can be the catalyst for transformation. Sometimes, the very thing we think is holding us back is actually pushing us forward, forcing us to confront what's within, to dig deeper, to find strength we didn't know we had. Sometimes the smallest space holds the biggest breakthrough. And then there's Deborah Dunbar, a real estate professional in South Florida. Deborah navigated career changes, industry shifts, market volatility, all while battling self doubt that whispered she wasn't enough, that she'd never make it, that every setback was proof she should quit. But she didn't let that doubt define her. She embraced lifelong learning. She diversified her skills. She built a reputation for integrity and excellence, not overnight, but through years of showing up. Even when showing up felt impossible, she used every setback as fuel for growth, stepping out of her comfort zone, taking risks, rebuilding after personal and professional losses that would have flattened most people. Deborah's journey is a testament to the power of persistence and inner strength. She became a respected leader in a brutally competitive market, not because she never failed, but because she refused to let failure have the final word. She conquered what was within by choosing to believe that her past did not dictate her future, that her mistakes were not her identity, that her worth was not tied to her wins. Now, I want you to sit with these stories for a moment because here's what they all have in common: resilience is a choice. It's not something you're born with. It's not a personality trait or a genetic gift. It's a decision you make every single day to confront and conquer your inner struggles, to reclaim your power, to refuse to let your circumstances define your potential. And I know some of you are thinking, but you don't understand what I've been through. You don't know the abuse I've endured, the trauma I've survived, the weight I've been carrying. You're right. I don't know your specific story, but what I do know is this: your pain is real, your trauma is valid, and your healing matters. And the first step toward healing is making the choice to conquer what's within. Because here's the truth: your circumstances don't define your potential. The abuse you endured, the betrayal you survived, the losses you faced, none of that sets your limits. Your response to those things, that's what defines you. Your willingness to stand in your truth, to confront what's holding you back, to embrace your authenticity with boldness, that's what determines your future. And let's talk about that authenticity for a second. Because authenticity isn't just a buzzword we throw around in wellness circles. It's a radical act of self love. It's about releasing the cape, dropping the superwoman mask, and saying, "This is me, flawed, wounded, healing, and still worthy." It's about redefining strength, not as the ability to carry everything without breaking, but as the courage to admit when you're breaking and ask for help. It's about understanding that softness is not weakness, it's the ultimate act of strength. Debra Campbell's message, the one that came through loud and clear in our conversation, is that authenticity and aggression and healing go hand in hand, especially for Black women. especially for those of us navigating hostile environments, whether in corporate spaces, entrepreneurial ventures, or even within our own families and communities. We've been taught to be palatable, to shrink ourselves, to make others comfortable at the expense of our own peace. But healing requires us to be aggressive, to take up space, to demand the rest and peace we deserve without apology, without explanation, without guilt. So, what does this look like in practice? It looks like setting boundaries without guilt. It looks like saying no, not because you're selfish, but because you're protecting your peace. It looks like resting without explanation because you don't owe anyone a justification for taking care of yourself. It looks like embracing softness, not as weakness, but as the ultimate reclamation of your humanity. And I want to be clear, this isn't easy. Conquering what's within is messy, uncomfortable, and sometimes downright painful. It means facing the parts of yourself you've been avoiding, the wounds you've been numbing, the fears you've been running from. It means sitting with your trauma not to wallow in it, but to understand it, to process it, to release it. It means doing the work nobody sees, the internal work that doesn't come with applause or recognition, but that changes everything. But here's the beautiful part: when you do the work, when you make the choice to conquer what's within, you don't just heal yourself, you inspire others. You become a beacon of hope for the woman who's still in survival mode, who's still wearing the armor, who's still carrying the weight. You show her that there's another way, that softness is possible, that joy is attainable, that peace is within reach. Debra Campbell's work is a living testament to this truth. She's helping women conquer what's within, not by ignoring the abuse or minimizing the trauma, but by facing it head on with courage, with vulnerability, with an aggressive commitment to healing. And in doing so, she's making the world a better place. One woman, one boundary, one breath at a time. So here's what I need you to do: not tomorrow, not next week, today, right now. Take one aggressive step toward conquering what's within. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting when you normally stay silent. Maybe it's reaching out to a therapist or a trusted friend and saying, I need help. Maybe it's pursuing that passion project you've been putting off because you didn't think you had time or permission. Maybe it's setting a boundary with someone who's been draining your energy for years. Whatever it is, do it, because your past does not dictate your future. Your trauma does not define your potential. Your pain does not determine your worth. You are powerful, you are seen, and you are unapologetically authentic. And the world needs you, not the version of you that's exhausted and burnt out, but the real you, the soft you, the healed you, the you that's been waiting to bloom. Stand in your truth, confront what's holding you back, and conquer what's within. Not because it's easy, not because it's comfortable, but because you deserve it. Because the woman you're becoming is waiting on the other side of that choice. And she's magnificent.